Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to what is promising to be an amazing webinar on Food Economy 4.0. My name is Sami Kazi. I'll be your host today, hosting this webinar on what we call Technology Insights with an Impact. Before we move forward, just wanted to give you some stats. Thank you for registering online. We've had more than 200 people registering. We have people coming in from more than 25 countries from the last count I saw, and people from more than 112 organizations globally. So thank you for popping in what I'm sure is going to be a wonderful webinar where we'll get really some interesting insights from a very distinguished panel, which I'll be introducing to you very shortly. Our panelists today are world-class gurus. We have Professor Kaisa Poutanen, who unfortunately will not be joining us today. She's ill, but she sends her greetings. But then we have the equally wonderful Emilia Nordlund, who's a research team leader. She'll be guiding you throughout most of the webinar, and then supported by Jaakko Passi, who is a principal scientist here at VTT, the Technical Research Center of Finland. We will, of course, have some other people from our side joining you when we get into the Q&A, which I'll be talking about in a while. Just so that we get some practicalities clear, when you've joined in, we've muted you all. This is just to ensure that there is no disturbance with the sound. And I'd just like to let you know that if you see the panel over there, you have a column which says questions. So if at any time you have any questions, please type them in, press send, so we'll receive them. We'll try to address them as they come in, and then mainly we'll be picking them up towards the end of the webinar. If you have any issues with audio, we recommend, of course, high Wi-Fi, or just use an Ethernet connector for your internet. And then, of course, it's always nice to have a headset to optimize everything. If you would just like to tune in via your phone, there are some toll-free dial-in numbers also. These were sent to you with the invitation. We do have a couple of handouts for you which are available for now. We have the Food Economy 4.0 roadmap, and then the Making of Tomorrow Bioeconomy report. We will also be sharing this material which we're presenting now later on to you. Let me just introduce you to what we call the Innovation Powerhouse of Finland. That's VTT, the Technical Research Center of Finland. Our mission centers around providing a clean world, sustainable economy, and good life. So things everybody looks forward to. And I'd just like to tell you that our focus is on addressing challenges of global significance, from climate action to resource efficiency to good life to safety and security, and then, of course, industrial renewal. How do we go about doing this? We do this in the form of offering services to our customers. And some of the things which really differentiate us as an organization from others is our cross-disciplinary know-how, where we are able to combine different technologies with business expertise and then carry out upscaling work in some of our unique research infrastructure. We currently primarily focus on bioeconomy, health and well-being, digital society, low-carbon energy, smart industry, sustainable and smart cities, and then, of course, business development. In short, VTT provides technologies for business. What makes us super proud is that we just like many other organizations, we also have some nice numbers and metrics to show. But here are some which really stand out. I'll just quote a few without getting into too much detail. At the moment, we are the most active patenting organization in Finland. And at the same time, we are the #1 organization when it comes to amount of EU research funding per active researcher. We are running typically about 450 international public research projects, and there's of course much more which happens. What may come as a surprise to many is that 36% of all Finnish innovations, they include VTT expertise in some form or the other. And then of course we work with about 9% of the Fortune 500 companies. So we do really a lot of work, and do get in touch with us. We'll share links with you later on. But without further ado, I'd like to pass over the mic now to my colleague, Dr. Emilia Nordlund, to get you through Food Economy 4.0.
Thank you, Sami, for the introduction, and welcome to the webinar from my side as well. I would like to start my part by a short introduction how we define the change in the food system and what are the main drivers shaping the food industry. For definition of the food economy 4.0, I will introduce you the 4 development steps in the food production. So we started as hunters, after which we finally learned how to farm. So the step 2.0 is the agricultural revolution. After that, in 19th century, the industrial revolution came, and then we started the mass production of food. At the same time, consumers grew partly apart from the primary production of food, and the production chain became also more funneled. Now we are at a point where we can again forecast a big change in the food production, that is the smart food production phase. And for that phase, we are giving now the number 4.0. The basis for the change comes from the strong global drivers. Globalization and digitalisation are, of course, not only drivers, but also enabling the change. Some of the important drivers are originating from the global environmental and health challenges. The facts are solid. Need of food will increase 50% by 2050, and 30% of people suffer currently from incorrect nutrition. Of course, these facts force also food industry to change. In addition, there are of course food industry specific trends that are partly originating from the drivers, but partly they are deriving from consumer needs and expectations. For example, consumers are after personalized solutions, convenience, and seek for pleasure. The drivers worked as a basis for the roadmap process of the food economy 4.0. The roadmap work was started by collecting viewpoints from a multidisciplinary expert group at VTT. Then the roadmap contents were refined with industry representatives to include knowledge of the food chain actors. The vision of food economy 4.0 was crystallized together with food industry, and it frames the change path of the food economy 4.0. The vision states that the future food economy is an ecosystem based on new collaboration of actors with strong involvement of consumers. Important part of the new food economy is the resource efficacy and new ways to produce food. Digitalization will empower consumers' role in the food production. And personalized solutions will also give food more meaning as part of consumer identity and keeping up health and well-being. So to crystallize the transition in food economy, we can say that the food industry is moving from a centralized chain to agile food production and delivery to consumers. There are 2 interlinked cycles surrounding the consumer in the center. First, information and data cycle that guides both consumer to choose the best options for her or him, and then industry to answer the consumer needs. And then the other cycle, that is the raw material cycle, that enables a sustainable and agile food production based on a zero waste approach. As I said already before, we defined 3 change paths during the roadmap process: consumer-centric manufacturing, agile production systems, and vertical food production. Consumer-centric manufacturing means transition from mass production to mass customization, so that the production will be more based on order and without heavy stocking. Prosumerism, which means that consumer will also be involved in the production, will strengthen the role of the consumer in the production system. One important part of consumer-centric approach is the feedback and online information from products and food consumption. This highlights the importance of self-monitoring tools in eating. When consumer-centric approach is focusing on the aspects that are visible for the consumer, the change path of agile food production systems deals with industrial processes that enable customized food production. Development of modular and partly distributed production and logistics are strongly dependent on new food technologies. Big data usage, IoT, and especially the integrated value chains. The third change path, vertical food production, is then focusing on the actual food production. How can we supply enough food for the growing population? The resource efficacy, circular economy, and also food production using food without fields approach by using new vertical food production concepts are important parts of this change path. To open up the contents and ideology of the change paths a bit more, I will next give you case examples of the three themes. To start with the consumer-centric manufacturing, we can see by the collection of only few of the several examples from recent news that a lot is already ongoing. Solutions utilizing virtual reality devices and apps are developed to assist consumers in kitchen and to deliver information on the food items. Recipe and eating support services tailored for individual consumers are also coming to the market. One important part of consumer-centric approach is self-monitoring and getting feedback from food consumption and eating. At VTT, we have studied devices that consumers can use for observation of the eating pattern, meaning that consumers notice how often they eat. The background for this kind of self-monitoring of eating pattern and its impact on healthy eating comes from the research data where it has been shown that self-observation is the most significant tool to change the behavior. The potential of this device is especially in healthcare sector to support people in healthy eating, but generally the application potential of the device is broader, from monitoring feelings to controlling medicine intake and so on. Another example for consumer-centric approach includes the devices to analyze your foods. The case demo you can see in this slide is based on the hyperspectral imaging. The technique is using infrared spectroscopic methods, and it can tell about the nutritional facts of the product. But in future, it's possible to get information also whether the product is out of the date or can be still eaten. So the impact of the technique is to increase consumer well-being, of course, but by giving the information whether the food is still good to be eaten, the device can help in waste reduction as well. The main idea has been to downscale the technique to a small sensing module and integrate it to advanced algorithms and cloud connectivity so that it can be a realistic tool for consumers to use. Then moving to the next change path, agile production systems. Again, in this slide, you can see that things are happening already. Piloting new delivery systems with help of robotics. Also, utilization of robots in food preparation is evolving, and it can provide solutions for customized food production in future. In addition, one important part of agile production is increasing sustainability of the food industry, and efforts to reduce waste formation, for example in retail sector, have been initiated. Transparency to consumers, but also traceability to the value chain actors is one significant aspect of agility. Intelligent packaging can be utilized for traceability. This example presented here is TagltSmart, where the intelligence of the package is based on the ink that changes its color according to time, temperature, or some other factor. The change in the code enables the development of various quality monitoring systems to follow in which conditions your product has been traveling. but can also provide entertainment for consumers. When we move from mass production to mass customization and prosumerism, new food manufacturing technologies need to be developed. 3D printing of foods is one example of disruptive food manufacturing technologies that is expected to enable creation of novel food structures and also personification. 3D printing can be developed to consumer interface, meaning that we can find these devices more and more in our kitchen in upcoming years, but the technology can also be used in industry, for example, in developing next generation vending machines. The third change path in the food economy 4.0 is about the ecological food production. How can we ensure that we have enough food for the growing population and without destroying the planet? Here are some examples what is happening in this field. Microbes are harnessed for food production. Solutions for closed raw material, water and energy cycles are demonstrated at the moment. And to give more proof that this is not only talk but really action, new meat-like foods fully based on plant-based raw materials have been launched in markets. And companies are also heavily investing in vertical farming concepts. The first thing to think here is the resource efficacy. We cannot afford any more refining the raw materials, but solutions to maximally use them needs to be invented. For example, milling of grains should be partly rethought to improve the usability of all of the food components of the grains and not to produce waste or any side streams in future. Another approach is, of course, to valorize the side streams of the food industry, meaning that we should recover all valuable components back to the food chain or to other added value products. In this case example, press cake formed in rapeseed oil production has been upgraded for food, cosmetics and even medical applications. One interesting approach to produce food in future is to utilize biotechnology. We call it as a food without fields approach at VTT. And the target is to produce food in a sustainable way using tools of industrial biotechnology for foods. In this case example here, we have studied plant biotechnology to produce edible plant cells. The cell pod is targeted for consumer use, but basically the idea has been that the technology could be upscaled for industrial production as well. So in the places where we do not have possibilities to grow fresh fruits and berries, we can do it with the help of plant biotechnology in a safe and sustainable manner. Another example of utilizing biotechnology is microbial protein production. At VTT, we have initiated harnessing Trichoderma protein production platform for food protein production as well. Trichoderma rese is already used for production of food-grade enzymes, so we really believe that it's a potential producer of food proteins as well in future. We target for high-performance proteins, but also production of bulk proteins for human energy is a potential approach with the microbial technologies. One example of vertical food production of future is insect farming. Conversion factor from feed to food is overwhelming when cattle is compared to insect farming. And whenever the legislation allows, insect foods are coming to our dinner table for sure. For that, we have started to develop insect ingredient technologies that could be applied for a variety of foods. Fractionation of insects to samples with distinct technological and sensory characteristics is important to enable production of appealing foods. Okay, now I will hand over to Jaakko, who will tell about the business aspects.
So thank you, Emilia. So when we are speaking about revolution, it is clear that the changes in the business model of the companies of food value chains, they will not only be incremental, but there will also be radical changes. We should understand the new food economy as a cyber-physical system where the physical production will be incorporated with digital world. And this leads to a new way to think about food, its food production, the distribution of food, and how the consumer relationships will be handled and managed. And the changes in the business and business models, they arise from the new way of consumers to think about food, its eating and buying. So the changes will be consumer driven, and the companies in the food value chains, they have to respond to the changed consumer behavior and to make changes in their business models. And all these take place because digitalization and automation has made it possible to make things differently than before. So beyond the business of in the food economy, there are three main drivers of business change. In the center is really this changed consumer behavior, but there is also changes that has already taken place in the manufacturing industry in large, and changes that has been ongoing already some years. 10 or let's say 20 years ago, information technology was used in the manufacturing industry in the existing manufacturing processes. But in 5 or 10 years ago, companies in the manufacturing industry, they started to use information technology in a new way. They started to change their processes and actually the whole way of producing goods. And what has been taken place in the manufacturing industry in large has not yet taken place in the food economy and manufacturing of food, but it will do. That will take place sooner or later, and I propose that it will happen soon. The third driving force is what has been happening in the retail sector in general. E-commerce has taken many fields of retail very largely. And in retail, they are now speaking about omnichannelism, which means that the different channels of retail to deliver goods to consumers, I mean brick and mortar, e-commerce, and so on, they will be merged so that the consumer sees only the brand of a retailer. And all this will shape how the business in the food economy 4.0 will look like. And when we speak about this food economy 4.0, we don't speak about weak signals. We are speaking about a revolution that has already started, but it is absolutely not yet the mainstream. But it's clear that the relative proportion of the food economy 4.0 smart food production in total markets of food, that will increase. And the relative proportion of the mass production way of producing food in total markets will decrease. We don't know the year when the new food economy will be larger than the existing one, but my guess is in between 5 or 10 years. So that will actually be quite soon. So what will change in business models if compared to the mass production way of doing things? If you start looking to the offering, it's clear that personalization, responding to needs of individuals, that will be the new mainstream. And on customer sides, the main change is the interaction with consumers. In the mass production time, the communication between producers, retailers, and customers is that was or is still more or less one-sided. Information goes from the producer, from the retailer to the consumer. But in food economy 4.0, there's a strong mutual interaction between producers, retailers, and customers. So the flow of information is two-sided, and that influence will influence to many things in business and how to organize the business. On the capability side, it means the shortening of value chains, smart production, smart distribution to food, and not only to the retail store, but to the homes of consumers. And from the earning logics side, the importance of different kind of services will increase. It may even be that in some years we will think about buying a food as a service. So we don't think that we are buying an individual portion of meal, but we are buying a food as service for 1 month or so. That is only one vision, but that's a vision of new kind of service and how companies will make money. So in summary of the business in the new ecosystem, so food chain is moving into cyber-physical reality where the physical production will be incorporated with digital world. And food production and delivery to the consumer leans heavily on digitalization. Production and consumption, they will be close to each other also physically, and the production matches the consumption, thus minimizing spoilage. And in cyber-physical systems, the value chains are short and the roles of actors in the chain may differ from the current ones. In the future, they may no longer be separate raw material producers, food manufacturers, wholesalers, or logistics operators in their classical meanings. Of course, all these stages will take place, but at the most extreme, the stages can be completed by one and the same actor physically in the same location. For example, in a hypermarket or even in a supermarket. And traditional roles are also taken up by the consumers' new kind of role in the new food economy. In some cases, the consumer may become a prosumer, which means a participation in production in one way or another through a digital media. So I will now give the voice back to Emilia, and she will wrap up this presentation.
Thank you, Jaakko. As said by Jaakko and also in the slide, now it's time for some conclusions and wrap up. So it should be evident that food economy 4.0 offers plenty of new business opportunities. However, in many cases, the cross-industry collaboration is the key to make it happen. So we should go bravely across the borders. To facilitate the change, we should establish collaboration forums for planning. We should build co-creation environments for innovations and also test beds to study and implement the feasibility of the ideas. Development of new technologies is also very important, and we should be able to study disruptive technologies, for example, for new food and ingredient manufacturing technologies. Integration of cross-industry technologies for service platforms is important. And when thinking of mass customization, development of logistics systems and processes should be considered. For zero-waste value chains and block economies, development of municipal infrastructure is also critical. And regards to utilization of big data and transforming it to my data, solutions and rules for data sharing and data security needs to be considered. In the end, I would like to emphasize that the change is already here, as Jaakko also mentioned. In addition to the initiatives presented also in the previous slides, various industrial and research strategies also show the same. So we encourage you to be the pioneers and demonstrators and also integrators of the new cross-industry technologies. We really believe that the fastest will be most probably also the winners in this case. At VTT, we are committed to facilitate creation of cross-industry innovations. We are very eager to take action with industry and research partners to enable starting new business in the field, and thus also increase well-being of people and the planet. We believe the multidisciplinary collaboration is the key for success. So to discuss further about these aspects, you can meet our experts. We are very active in conferences, and here is one selection of the conferences and exhibitions where we will be present. So there is possibility to meet us in those places physically, and you are of course always welcome to visit us at VTT in Finland. So I will now hand over back to Sami.
Thank you very much, Emilia and Jaakko, and I hope all of you listening and following us online have really enjoyed this webinar so far. We've seen basically three major areas, from consumer-centric manufacturing to agile production systems and to vertical food production. Now, I'd just like to give you a reminder, if you have any questions, you can send them through the panel, which should be in front of you. So while we look forward to those questions, we will also be popping up some poll questions where we'd like to get some of your insights and feedback. So this is your first poll over there. And again, we'd like you to just choose one. So let's get the poll questions back up. And over here, the main question we'd like to really ask you is that, of all the pathways which you saw, which of the change pathways do you think has the most business potential for your company? Is it consumer-centric manufacturing? Is it agile production systems? Or is it vertical production, food production? So please choose one of those choices, and do let us know what your opinions are. So let me try repeating that question again. Okay, we're having a slight technical glitch over there with the poll, so but again, do drop us your questions in, and while we try to sort out, let's say, the poll pop-ups, you know, we always have these technical glitches despite working in a technical world. We'll start off with some of the questions which some of you have really kindly sent us in, and as we get into the questions, let me also introduce you to two of my other wonderful colleagues who are joining us today. We have Dr. Anu Seisto and then also Dr. Nesli Sozer. And okay, the technical glitch is solved, so we'll get to the questions later. The polls are back up finally. Thank you, our backup support team, for making that happen. So let me get through the questions. What would you need to develop in order to create growth? Is it going to be new networks, service development, or technology development? Please send in your answers by clicking one of those options. And let me repeat that. So what would you need in order to create growth? Would it be new networks, service development, or technology development? And by the way, you know, while you're also thinking about this, we're going to do some calculations to get the votes and results out. Do feel free to send us in more questions if you have them, any. It's all in the panel where you see questions. Drop in a question, press send, and we'll go through them and give you answers very quick. And here we have the interesting results. So most of you believe that what we really need in terms of growth is technology development. And then we seem to have equal numbers for new networks and service development. So let me just pass this, you know, comment back on to my colleagues. And, you know, Emilia, why do you think, you know, we see technology development as the first choice over here?
Well, of course, if it depends on, of course, we have different themes, and I think that if we think about consumer-centric approach, there we had already some technologies that are on the market or close to the market. But if we think about this food supply for the growing population, I would, at least my experience there is that there we need even more technology development to make it happen. But it's interesting to see, but maybe I think all of the things that are happening so fast, it's anyway, the core thing is the technology that can make it happen. So it makes sense in a way. And then the service comes on top of that.
Thank you, Emilia. Now let's take another poll question. I think that should be popping up pretty soon right in front of you. And as I keep on, you know, saying again, please do send us your questions through the control panel, and we'll try to get as many of them answered as possible. Now for a slightly longer, let's say, poll. What is your main motivation to rethink food processes and eating solutions within your business? And, you know, please select all of those which apply, so it's not just one. We have the first choice as digitalization-driven changes and opportunities. We have consumer trends and new business openings. We have sustainability development goals, looking at the environmental benefit side, availability of new food ingredients, and then regulations. So again, what really is your main motivation to rethink these food processes and then eating solutions in business? So please do give us your choices. Our experts over here, bang, this was very quick. And, you know, here we see some interesting things actually popping up in the poll results. Most people, they actually have consumer trends and new business openings being highlighted over there, followed up by sustainability development goals. And let me just pass this, you know, over to my colleague Anu Seisto for some remarks, because she's been working in this area quite a bit. So Anu, could you give us a brief insight to why do you think consumer trends and new business openings are actually driving new motivations to rethink food businesses and processes?
Yeah, I think one reason for that can be that the consumer behavior is changing due to digitalization also, and that is something that is bringing new opportunities for business as well. And there's a lot happening in that area at the moment, and a lot of research is being done in that area also. So I think this is very understandable. But also, I think both sustainability development and digitalization are very much connected to that.
Very good. Thank you very much, Anu. And we see that we're getting in a lot of questions actually coming in. So let me just, take us out of the polls and basically come forth to the Q&A, and we'll try to, give you answers on those. And I think one of the interesting ones which really came up was that this button which Emilia was showing, and, people have been asking that, does the button measure also the quality of food intake? Emilia.
Yes, that's a good question. So at the moment, actually, we are not focusing so much in the quality of the food intake. We can differentiate between the snack and a meal, but based on the data and the understanding we know, it's actually more important to follow the eating pattern. And of course, the quality makes difference, but we believe actually that just self-observation of the eating pattern can make already the difference.
Very good. And then, we have another interesting one, and I'm going to toss this into one of our experts on food and printing, that's Nestle. So, Nestle, we have a very nice question for you, which says that, what really are the true benefits of 3D printing for the food industry? Yep, okay. You're on, Nestle.
Okay, so that's really an interesting question. So it has two elements there. The first one is the food ingredient industry benefit, which is focusing on obvious development of new added value ingredients, and then the food and retail industry benefits. I would say, as Emilia and Jaakko has mentioned, so customization, co-creation, I would echo that. When it comes to customization and co-creation, nutrition, flavor, color, and texture customization. And obviously, the ultimate benefit will be also on-demand and on-the-go production. Flexibility in the sense of new product design and also novel mouthfeel experiences. And also it will enable the platform to test alternative sources such as side streams, which Emilia has also mentioned, but why not also insect powders?
Very good. Thank you, Nestle. Let me move forward to another interesting question we have coming in, and it's really about how do you believe the hotels and restaurants would be developed in the food economy 4.0, and I'll pass it over to Jaakko for this one.
Yeah. I think hotels, they are more or less already now in the new food economy, because all the reservation of hotel rooms and all the communication took place through some digital media. But the restaurants, they are not yet there. But I think in future, I think also the ordering of meal in restaurants took place through some apps. And also, I think that in the future, the food to go ordering will be much more frequent than today, and this food to go is something which belongs to really represents this new food economy.
Thank you, Jaakko. Another question, maybe Emilia, this one goes to you, is that all of these wonderful examples which you showed, do any of these already exist? And when do you think, if they don't exist, how soon would they actually be able to get into the market?
Most of the case examples I showed, there were also these news flashes, so those were mostly on market or at least on demonstration phase. But the VTT examples I showed, so there also some of them are already now continuing going to the business side via VTT startups. For instance, this food scanner technology, it's it's just about to launch in a market. So I would say that they are. It depends on the case, but I think they are coming in 5 years, and it depends also. There are these regulation aspects, for instance, with the insects, that it depends also on EFSA and things that we cannot then do. We just have to wait the legislation to come.
Thank you very much, Emilia. And let's move forward. Anu, I think this one is really up for you. We have a question coming in that how do we really identify what matters to consumers?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think that a lot can be done by testing. And there are different ways of involving consumers in development processes already early on. And that's something that I think is very, very important, especially when testing ideas of completely new services that don't exist in the market yet. So this collaboration and using collaborative tools also for involving consumers is very important.
Very good. Let's move forward. This is perhaps really going to be a fun one. I really like this. And Emilia, I'll pass this one over to you. That, the question comes in that what are the most potential food products for this new insect ingredient you've been mentioning?
Well, Samit, you just name it. It can be anything. Well, what we have studied at VTT, we have studied meatballs, falafels, snacks like tortilla snacks or chips or anything. But I would say that the insect ingredients, because they contain so much protein and they are very meaty-like, or yeah, I would say meat-like flavor. So they are very potential for this. To replace some of the meat and to start with these hybrid products also with meats, but then meat analogs. So there are plenty of product categories that they are very potential for.
One more, this is more of a follow-up to this one, and Anu, maybe you would be able to give us more insights based on your experience. Food ingredient from insects, it sounds really quite interesting, but how does the consumer actually find it acceptable? Because it's really challenging for some people the moment you say we're going to eat something, like insects, or we're going to eat some muffin or cupcake or something made out of wood. We do that research here anyway. But so how do we get the buy-in from the consumers when it gets to insect protein?
I think it might be a question of time that the more there are products that people connect with, and the more trendy we can make them, the easier it's also to make them such that consumers find them appealing. So there are different ways of reaching them. Of course, at the moment it's not also simple to start testing how to reach the consumers better, but in time I think this will change.
Thank you so much. Very good. Now let me take another one, and by the way, you can keep on getting your questions coming in, and we'll try to answer as many as possible. We have an interesting one which just came in, which says that what will be the next big innovation in food economy 4.0 to come? Now, who'd like to really pick that one? Emilia, you want to have a go at it? All yours.
May I say 2 or 3?
Yeah, of course. Because I know you're so excited about it. Go ahead.
Well, of course, I think if we think about the vertical food products, and this insecting, it's already coming, and I think that's a big thing. But really, it is moving from fields to factory-like food production, and I believe that this biotechnological food production will be a disruptive technology. Maybe not in 5 years, but if we think about 10 years or so, that's one big thing. And then when we think about this consumer-centric production and compared to this agile food manufacturing processes, really this personification, because now the people, and it's enabled by the digitalization and robotics all the time, more and more. So really this that people can choose and can ask that, and they have needs. Everybody wants their own things. So really this that we can give service to everybody and customize the foods according to what some you need, or what I mean, not only from the health perspective, but also based on values and preferences. What do everybody wants? So I think, and that will in the end create well-being for the people, but also it will have huge healthcare and impacts and also economical impacts in a way that we can create health by that way.
One more interesting question coming in is that how do you see the environmental benefits of these different food sensors and monitoring tools which you were showing? Anu, down yours.
Yes, thanks. Well, one thing that can be done with hyperspectral camera or imaging that Emilia presented earlier is that for example, you can check if the food that you think that might not be edible anymore in fact is. The thing that it presents or shows is some contamination or mold building that you can't see with your eyes, but you can see with the spectral camera. And that kind of technologies are developing and becoming cheaper and easier, and helping consumers to kind of see easily that this food is still good.
I think we have a really interesting question here now coming, and it's come actually for a while. And this is from, big, let's say, companies, and I'll read the question directly, is that the systems here, they offer huge changes in how food will really be produced in the future. And the challenge for large food manufacturers is the vast investment they've already done with existing equipment. So how would, for example, a large brand owner take that first step towards moving to a more consumer-centric manufacturing system? Anu, let's have your take on that first.
Okay, I can start. I think that the thing with moving towards a more digital company, for example, means that you can take small steps. You don't have to start making large investments at once. You can test with the consumers what they like, what kind of services would be good from your viewpoint, from the viewpoint of the whole network that you're working with, and from the viewpoint of the consumers. And this kind of new service concepts can be tested even before you start making any investments. And that would be something that I'd recommend, that you start with testing in concept level before moving forward in any larger scale investments.
Emilia, I know that you wanted to also provide your take on that question, so go ahead.
Thanks, Sami. Yeah, if we think about the manufacturing industry, that's of course a big challenge, and because it's huge investments if you are partly trying to modularize and downscale the processes and distribute. But I don't know. It might be that it starts from the smaller companies then, and that somebody will be the pioneer and show that this is how it goes, or somebody needs to be the first, and I really believe that that company will also be the winner and really make business. But for the weak ones, I don't know, but maybe you can also take the risk really and go for that direction, because I think that's really the future.
Very good. We have another, I think, very interesting and valid question which just came in, and that is, how do you think the developing world will benefit from the new food economy? So let me repeat that. How do you believe the developing world will benefit from the new food economy, or food economy 4.0? Emilia.
So we have been thinking this, for instance, this biotechnical food production, that if we can do it in an efficient way, this factory like mobile food factories, where we can really really with a good conversion factor with limited amount of water can transform the feedstock to nutrients. It could solve also some challenges in the crisis areas, war areas, and where they have limited amounts of nutrients. So that's at least one of the things. But we must say, and it was highlighted also in the roadmap, that we didn't focus so much on the situation in the developing countries in this work.
Thank you. And I think we have one last question, and I'll just move also towards the end of this Q&A over here. And that question really came in that, how can we visit VTT? And to be honest, it's just drop us an email or just visit our website. And then, we'll get you through. And, you can get in touch with our experts and everything. And, it's pretty much on the last slide. Over here we have. So if you go to www.vttresearch.com/services, you will be able to see everything which we do, narrow in, and also find, let's say, different experts with whom, you can connect and how you can actually come and visit us. We also have a nice strip down below about the different channels through which you can see some of the work we're doing. Drop us an email, look at our tweets, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram. I'd like to take this opportunity to actually thank you for participating over here. We have one more last second question coming in, and we need to get that one through. I think the panelists see that as very important, and let's get through that before we get to the end. That's, how do you see the connection between the health consumer auto control through different wearables, personalized medicines, etc., diet personalization, and new food production? Anu, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'll just give a short comment. This is something that we actually see already on the market, that biometric data collected from people is used for different services. And this, I also think, that is an interesting direction, how we can combine data from different sources and use them for building new services. So biometric data, I think, is a very good example of that.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think we are now towards the end, so let me wrap it up. And first of all, thank you very much for participating in this webinar. And we had a very nice question and answer session, so thank you super much for all the questions you sent us in. Feel free to send us more. We'll be more than happy to answer them as soon as we can, by channeling them to some of our key experts. As you can see on the slide on your screen, we provide world-class know-how and systemic innovations. I think that's one of our core strengths. And then do follow us on the different social media channels. We will be sending you in the next 24 hours or so an email, which will contain links to these materials, this webinar, and much more over there. And that should come in my name, by the way. That's sami.kazi@vtt.fi. So make sure I'm not in your spam list. And we'd also like you to really give us some feedback on how you thought our webinar went, how we could improve in the future. And this is from our side here at VTT. Thank you very much for joining us. And we do look forward to having you on a new webinar. This is Sami Kazi and Team VTT signing out. Thank you very much.